Hi guys, Sarah here from Highland Haven Australian Shepherds and Highland Haven Dog Training, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 11 of Dog for Thought. Joining me is my co-host, daughter, and dog trainer extraordinaire, Sophia.
Hi everyone.
So what's going on in Dogland, Sophie? Give us an update.
Most of the puppies went home. It was, everyone always talks about, oh, how could you give them away? They should be with you guys. I don't know. They always say it must be so hard.
Don't take them away from their mother.
Yeah, and for me, I was talking to one of the owners, and I was just like, it's such a joy to be able to give these puppies to people who I know will love them and appreciate them forever. And, then you hear about all the land they have, and they have sheep, and they have other of our previous litters. It's such joy to be able to give somebody that.
For sure.
And so when they go, it's not a goodbye. It's almost like I'll see you later. I'll see you on social media. You'll come back for training, whatever the case is. And to be able to see them happy and their new owners who adore them, or email us back and say oh, we just love them, blah, 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 blah. It's just, I don't know. It gives me such joy.
Yeah. So it's not just about the joy of the dogs. Mm-mm. It's a joy of seeing people happy. And many times we have people who get puppies from us that have recently lost a dog of 12 or 14 or 15 years, and they're heartbroken, and it's nice to see them sort of start over with a new dog.
That little flame start to reignite in them again,
Yeah, no, we have a very nice crop of owners. We usually do. It's pretty unusual that we don't like one of our new owners. I'll be honest, there's times when I don't. It's not that I don't like them. It's that I don't like them. But what I can discern, that doesn't mean they're not going to be good dog owners, right? So even if I'm I don't particularly care for you, if I believe that you're going to be a good dog owner, it's all good with me. So even if we don't sort of have a meeting of the minds, maybe whatever, lifestyle, politically, whatever, as long as I know you're going to be good dog owner. Mm-hmm. This particular group, that's really rare.
Yeah,
it's really rare. Yeah. Sometimes we don't have I don't have the best initial phone call. I find them a little bit awkward, or I don't know. It's just maybe just a little awkward, and I'm like, I don't know. And then I, tell myself, oh well, they have a 12-year-old Aussie, and their 14-year-old Aussie just died, and obviously their dogs are their lives. So this is going to be a good home, and we've been very lucky in that way, and that's seems to have worked out with all of our puppies.
We talk about a lot. People always ask, oh, why'd you pick this breed? And I think a big reason we picked this breed, besides health-wise, genetics, all the basic common sense good things, but we also picked because it's a very particular type of person who wants an Australian Shepherd.
Nobody thinks about that unless you're a breeder.
And so I love German Shepherds. We have the German Shepherd that we've talked about the past couple podcasts. I get it. I get the appeal of wanting a German Shepherd. I love the way he moves. Mm-hmm. I love his attitude. It's that shepherdy kind of vibe, but it attracts a very particular type of person. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I would never, ever breed them, even though I love the dog itself.
Yeah. If you're not a breeder, you don't think about that. Mm-mm. As a breeder, you do. So as I've mentioned before, I'm part of these Facebook online groups, for breeders, right? So it's breeding all different types of dogs. It's a whelping group, right? It has 30,000 members on Facebook. It's a huge resource for information because 30,000 people, that's 30,000 hours, really more, of breeding experience. So basically you can't put anything on there that somebody hasn't had experience with. So if you have something that you don't have experience with, something that you're concerned about or whatever, or have a question about, it's a great resource. But I will see on there a lot, people will say things like, the market's dead, I can't sell these dogs, or do you guys let people come to your house? I never let people come to my house to see the puppies. I always meet off-site, or nobody... I don't do puppy visits. We do visits at 3 weeks of age and let people come pick. I never let people come to my house. And I'm like, that's kind of weird, right? But when then I drill down to what, if somebody says that, I look at their page and I'm like, oh, you're a Frenchie breeder.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yep. I wouldn't, if I was a Frenchie breeder, I would not let anybody
because
come
it
to my house.
attracts scamsters, right?
Yep.
People who are trying to, scamsters, is that even a name?
I don't know, but you just made it up and I totally get it.
Yeah. I think there's scammers, but I like scamsters. It sounds like a badass hamster, but whatever. Scammers. You know, a lot of people will resell Frenchies and stuff. And when you're talking about high caliber breeds like German Shepherds, Rotties, Pitties, you're going to attract a certain type of owner. Also, the other type of owner. So the good owners, right? The people who love the breed and are really wonderful people and put their dogs first. And then the other half, which is macho men who, you know, are looking for a tough dog as an attack dog or protector, you know, that kind of stuff. So that's definitely a different group of people.
Yep. Leave them intact and then let them breed with whatever. And, you know, anyways.
Do you find that at the vet? That you can predict what that there is a theme of what the owner is going to be like with certain breeds?
Yeah, I definitely. Well, I love to check. It's not always accurate because it's not always put in properly. But like before I go on an appointment, I want to know with the dog because usually that informs who I'm going to be dealing with as the client.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Yeah.
I mean, and with grooming too.
Yes, for sure. I mean, it's not different than cars. Remember, we made the car analogy last week, right? So, you know, people are attracted to certain types of dogs because they have a certain lifestyle or certain beliefs or whatever. Good and bad.
Yep.
Not always bad. Good and bad. So, yes, Aussies attract a very typical...
family-oriented, athletic, It's I would say more young families, but we get a good amount of like older experienced people who've had the breed, but we also get a fair bit of like young people that are like, you know, looking to kind of explore new breeds and are athletic. But it's mainly like in people who are willing to do activities with their dog with or without their family. Those are the type of people we
who are active generally, right? Or people who have a long history with the dog and maybe were active when they were younger.
Yeah, and now they have this dog breed and they know how to handle it with not having all those athletic abilities still maybe.
For sure. So. And you know, if you find the right breed for you, whatever breed that is, you know, it's like potato chips. You're like, you can't get enough. So, and you know, sometimes you get a breed that doesn't really fit. Like we had a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, and although it was good when you guys were little, he was a very sweet dog. I would never get another Spaniel. They're definitely not for me.
Or Dachshunds.
I would consider getting a Dachshund. You know, if I was 85.
Well, I mean, for you, I always thought that the Dachshunds were worse because the housebreaking and you have a whole thing
they don't housebreak and they're yappy. That I don't like.
Jacob, on the other hand, he's probably going to be a Dachshund guy. So
I love a good dachshund.
Yeah, but I love them too. But yes, you have to go into it. You know, like people will say, well, I'm very active when you ask them about when they are trying to tell me that they're a good owner, right? When we're having a prospective call. For a dachshund owner, it has to be, can I accept the fact that they will never fully housebreak and that they talk all the time? They yap, 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 yap. They're very, very vocal. So those are the two things. If I was a dachshund breeder, I would say you prepared for those two things, right?
Well, and they're also like, as small and as cute as they are not what they seem on the outside. Like they are tough dogs.
Yeah, and not always great with new people.
No.
But when you get a sweet one, particularly a long-haired mini, man, you don't get much better.
Great.
True.
Yeah.
You really don't.
I feel that way about Chihuahuas though. Like you either have like a Chihuahua that only likes one person and there's like no one else can touch it, or you have this like super sweet fat Chihuahua with no teeth. And they're like the cutest little baby ever.
They never housebreak.
But they're so cute.
Yes. You know, I have met a few, 3 or maybe 4 Chihuahuas in my life that have just been the bomb.com for sure. Particularly the long-haired ones.
I know.
They're so great.
Cute.
But they are fragile. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a big person, Chihuahuas are tough because if you accidentally step on them, you break a leg,
remember,
you know?
Oscar? Remember Oscar was a Chihuahua
I think he was
pinscher?
I think he was just a min pin.
He was just a min pin?
I don't think he was a mix.
Oh, I thought he was. Anyways, but owner just happened to trip and fell and broke both of his front legs.
Yeah. That's not really my thing.
No.
I think we're getting off topic here, though.
Yeah, we totally are. But I thought that was crazy. He told me that, and I was like, oh, I would feel so guilty. I mean, he was fine. I never knew.
Even just jumping off the couch when they're really little.
Yeah, that's true.
The toy breeds, they have a whole host of things you have to be careful for.
I never thought about that.
And they're not easy to breed either.
Yeah. You only get like 2 of them in each litter, right?
Yeah.
2 or 3, maybe?
Yeah, and they're much more fragile puppies. Very delicate puppies.
I wonder, well, okay, maybe this is off topic, but do they come out pink? Or no, they come out look like our puppies, like little.
All puppies are born looking exactly the same.
Okay.
I mean, it's only...
I'm just thinking, so like...
Yeah, they're really super tiny, of course, but when you...
They look like dogs, though?
When you equalize for size, right? All dogs or puppies are born really looking the same. So a newborn puppy of a Great Dane does not look very different than a newborn puppy of, say, a Yorkie, really. It's only when they get slightly older that the phenotype, the breed traits start to appear.
Interesting. I'm going to look that up when we're done with this.
Yes, it's pretty interesting.
I always thought that, when they're small, they might come out like little pinkies.
Pinky meaning a mouse, a
yeah,
baby
like,
mouse.
when they're like...
No, I mean, they're no more... They're not underdeveloped. No.
I guess so. I don't know.
They're just small in size.
What do I know? Anyways.
Yeah, what do we know about Yorkie puppies?
Yeah, well, Yorkie or any little... We've never bred little dogs. There's always room to learn. That's why I like this.
So let's rewind. We got way off topic, I think, talking about
the puppies.
German Shepherds. Where do we go off the rails?
Well, we can go back to our puppies getting rehomed.
Oh, okay. So, yes. So they all went to nice homes. Let's see. We have one went to Rhode Island, one went to Buffalo, two on Long Island, and one local here, about a half an hour away. And then we have 2 that are here for training. Previously Smokey and Roddy, now Marley and Turtle. So we're trying to get used to using their new names. So Turtle will be with us for about 11 days total, but I think he goes home in like a week from today. Today's Tuesday, so next Tuesday. And then, so he'll just be doing very initial crate training and working on housebreaking. And he's wearing a collar, so he'll be collar broke. They actually, by the way, I didn't tell you that. I put their collars on this morning, and they were like, no problem. And both those collars fit, even the black one.
Oh, good.
The black
yeah,
one
I was like, I know we have a little black one, and they're big puppies, so I had.
They are substantial puppies.
Yeah, they're heavy.
And then Marley will be here until the end of April, so we're going to be doing crate training, housebreaking,
leash walking,
and just general behavior, good manners. So by the time she goes home, she'll have a lot under her belt. Yeah, so they were good last night. Last night was their first night up here. I was reluctant to bring them up here, I'll be honest, because it's a lot of work. But I did say I was going to bring them up on Monday, so it was the end of the day, mainly because we got our tile scrubbed. We had a company come in and scrub the grout in our kitchen because it was disgusting when we moved in. We hadn't been able to really clean it properly. So after you finished, then we brought them upstairs and put them in the crate for the first time. They did great.
Yep. And we were talking about this on the walk and kind of this morning. I'm watching, we're doing our normal routine, which is like you stay at your little desk and go on TikTok and do your computer work, and I eat breakfast and watch Hulu. And the whole time, like intermittently, they're crying. And we're both ignoring them.
Because they're in the crate.
And then once in a while, like Tula will go up and like be like, why are you crying? And they'll settle down. And, and we're just like doing what we naturally do. And they're, intermittently crying. And I'm just thinking in my head, like as I asked you a question or something. And I was like, oh, they've been crying this. Like it didn't even register that they were crying the whole time because we're so used to just raising puppies and this is just what we do. And it's so important to like be on the same page with who you're raising the puppy with, if it's a partner, if it's a child, if whoever, to all be on the same page of like when the puppy's in the crate and when they are crying, you do not give them attention. So then they learn that even though I'm making breakfast and I'm doing this and doing that, this is a time where we lay down and we go to sleep. This is not the time when we cry and interact, and you don't get let out of the crate just because you're crying. And it's really important for them to kind of be able to turn off even at such a young age when we're doing things like just relaxing in the kitchen. And it's important
Right.
for
So
them to
we
cry.
specifically don't tiptoe around them.
No.
We don't, we act completely normally. So that's getting up, walking over to the sink, washing my hands, you making breakfast, me sitting back down, working on the computer, the dogs intermittently barking if they hear something outside, me letting Tula outside to go pee. That's all. They have to get used to that kind of activity because this is setting them up to be able to settle, to be able to turn off even when there's activity going on around you in a house. So we talk about the off switch as being, one of the foundational skills, right? That make a pleasant pet. A puppy or dog who's unable to turn off or constantly triggered every time there's movement or sound is a dog that's not as fun to live with. So like you say, it's really automatic for us that this is how we do it. I like the crate in the room that you're going to be in. Our kitchen has my work desk. And so we're in there a lot. As a family, we spend the most of the time in the kitchen. So I have the 2 crates right on one of the exits into the kitchen. Last night, though, when I came upstairs after doing the training dogs, they were in their 2 crates, which you can, they're right on the edge of the kitchen, but you can't see them from the living room. But I did not move them.
I was going to say, did you move them or not?
No, because it was nighttime. It was like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I think it was more like 9 o'clock. It's bedtime. They should be sleeping. They don't need to see me.
Yeah.
So I just left them where they were. So yeah, we're all on the same page. We don't respond to them. My job when we're doing this very initial steps of crate training is to calm them with my presence, right? I do occasionally look over at them and talk to them. We try not to reinforce the whining and crying, but I will talk to them and look at them because again, it's not that I want to totally ignore you. It's that I'm here. You're fine.
Yep.
Go lay down. Yep. It's all well and good.
And plus they're getting an example from all of our other dogs just kind of settling and laying down.
Right. Our other dogs are looking around going, there's nothing going on here. I don't know why you're crying.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah. And like even Tula will like go up and like lick them in the face and like a couple times she laid right in front of their crate. It was just like, it's fine. It's not a big deal, guys. We just lay down during this part of the day.
Right.
And then once they learn the routine, it's only like the first, at least for our bloodlines and stuff, it's usually the only first week where they're like consistently crying and then they start getting the routine. They're like, oh, this is the part where we go back to sleep again.
I wouldn't even say a week. I would say within 2 days they're gonna
really
get it.
Yeah.
Now the initial whining and crying may last a minute, but they settle down right away. At this point, they can't figure out the pattern because we haven't done enough repetitions for them to understand that there's a structure and pattern to this. So within a couple of days, they start to very naturally pick up the patterns of our lives. This is when we do this. This is when we do that. So we try to be very consistent with that. And then they start to relax and go, okay, I see this for what it is. I understand them being upset, right?
And also like not knowing like, when am I going to get out? When are we going to do this? When am I going to do that? And I think that's the biggest mistake people make with crate training in particular is, oh, I feel bad. Let me just let them out. I'm here anyways. I'm in the kitchen anyways.
He's crying.
I can watch them. And then all of a sudden they're like peeing in the kitchen and then you have to take them outside and put them and then bring them back in and put them in the crate. And then they're like, well, this isn't consistent. And then your schedule starts out with good intentions of being consistent, but then you feel guilty. And then it starts to become inconsistent. And then the puppy learns, oh, when I whine for this amount of time, they let me out.
So what pattern have they, in that kind of lack of consistent structure, what is consistent? Oh, when I whine, you let me out. So they're looking for patterns, and you want the pattern that they see to be one that
aligns with your lifestyle.
Right. Moves you forward in the process, doesn't hold you back. Yep. Right. So, I do say tell people at this very early stage when you're first initially crate training, it's kind of like sleep training, and people go, oh, that's so cruel. Don't sleep train your kids. You're not supposed to do that. Okay. Hold on. I do think that sleep training where you drop your kid into a crib and then walk away and don't respond to their cries at all is actually not good parenting. However, they do need to cry it out at some point, most kids. So what I did with both of you is I just sat in the room with you, if I put you down to bed or for a nap and, we did our whole routine, read you a book or whatever, gave you a bottle, whatever age you were, and then put you in your crate, crib, and you cried, I would just sit in the rocking chair next to you in the dark, and just reassure you with my presence until you fell asleep. You know, kids have to learn to regulate as well. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing with the puppies. I wouldn't put them in a crate and then just leave the room. No, like when I went up to take a shower, I did take them with me and put them in the crate in the bedroom, which is off, you know, our master bath is right off of the bedroom there. And I left the bathroom door open. So the dogs, all of our dogs could walk in and out of the bathroom and sort of keep them company. Because they were at such an early stage, I didn't want to leave them downstairs alone.
Well, I was trying to shower fast because I didn't know if you wanted to do that and leave them, and then me switch the shift and like hang out with them in the kitchen. But then I saw that you brought them upstairs, and I was like, oh, okay.
So the other dogs move in and out of the bedroom and kept them company, so they weren't totally alone. And they could hear me right in the bathroom next to them. So that worked fine. Mm-hmm. However, when it was time for us to leave, you know, to go take the dogs for a walk, then all of our dogs go in the dog room, get put away. Jacob then ended up taking the puppies out and exercising them for 45 minutes or so. And then he brought them in, put them in the crate, and then they were in the kitchen alone until we came back from our training walk. At that point, it's appropriate. They've had morning exercise. They've been fed, they drank, they pooped, they peed, they played. Now it's nap time, and you can do that alone.
Yep.
And when we came home, they were dead asleep.
Yep.
And even when I came in the kitchen, they did wake up. They cried very, very briefly and then laid down and went back to sleep because they're tired at this point.
Yep. And I think people also forget, as much as they're whining and crying, sometimes that whining is crying is from overexertion, overstimulation. And so they need that time to kind of just unwind and re-regulate their natural body to be able to turn off at those moments. And if you keep interrupting those natural abilities for them to self-regulate, you're going to create a dog that doesn't know how to self-regulate because you come and you self-regulate for them.
Right, you disrupt the process, for sure.
And I immediately think of the dog we have downstairs who can't be crated, and the way he's learned how to self-regulate is by spinning like a lunatic in the crate until he is so tired that he collapses and goes to sleep.
Right.
So that is a dog who has never learned how to self-regulate in a crate. Because
although he's doing better now.
He is. Now that he knows
after he shredded our wire crate, completely shredded it and broke out of it.
Yep.
And now he's in an impact crate. It took him a few days. Now he does not try to escape because you can't get out of an impact crate. It's designed for that. And he has finally settled down. He does a little bit of spinning.
He does a little
bit of
howling,
light howling.
And then he goes to sleep.
But he's been much better.
Yep, much better.
Yeah. So
it's really important for you to have a safe spot like a crate for your dogs. I can't stress that enough. And when people say, oh, I didn't crate train them, I'm like, oh, that poor dog.
Well, I put them in a pen off of my kitchen. Okay, well, how'd that work for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's like a safe space for them. Like, there's a handful of our dogs that find the crate a safe space. So in the case that we have to move, in the case we go on vacation, in the case where they need to get groomed, in the case where there's 1,000 different situations that they will have to be in the crate in their lifetime, that is a safe space. Mm-hmm.
It's not a punishment.
It's not a punishment. Unpleasant. It's neutral. I know when I go in here, I must turn off and go to sleep. And I know that the owner that I have is going to let me out at a timely manner when whatever is going on is done. And that's it. I mean, Journey, half the time I can't find her. She's in her crate sleeping.
Yeah. And so when we have to put Journey away, when Twiggy comes upstairs, it's not like I feel like I'm isolating her or feel like it's negative or punishing. I just call her and say, get in your crate. And she runs ahead of me and hops in her crate and lays down. Yep. I shut the door of the crate, shut the door of the room, and then Twiggy can go upstairs.
I mean, and the same thing with Twiggy. You were saying that you had her up when you were watching TV and she was pacing and pacing and whining and pacing. And then you were like, oh, you just want to go back downstairs and go in your kennel. And she went right back downstairs and went to sleep downstairs. So, you know, like it's a safe space where they know the routine. And it's so, to be able to give that to your dog, especially
it's a gift for sure.
I can't stress it enough.
So those two puppies are downstairs by themselves in crates next to each other in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. It's totally silent. Yep. So they're sleeping. They're tired at this point.
Yep.
And they were great last night. So I was really dreading it just because Gary, your dad, gets up so early in the morning and the crate is literally a double-decker crate in between our beds because we sleep separately. And I did not want the puppies to keep him up. I put them in the crate last night at 10:30, and they whined for maybe 30 seconds.
Wow.
And that was it. Then lay down and went to sleep because, of course, the lights are off, so that the sensory deprivation helps for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's late at night. They're used to sleeping in the dark. They're diurnal animals like we are. And that was 10:30. I tried to wait till 11. Just couldn't. I kept falling asleep. Because generally I like 11 to 5 as what I recommend for the first night, 6 hours. And at 4:15, I was kind of awake and they were sort of restless. And I said, let me just get this over with. So at 4:15, I took them outside in the front. They squatted and peed immediately. About a minute later, one of them pooped. And then I scooped them up, brought them back upstairs, and quietly put them back in the crate. Your dad was gone by then. And I lay back down and went to sleep, and they didn't wake up again until 7. So, I mean, you cannot ask for a better first night for that. Nope. I mean, just fantastic. Mm-hmm. And they did stay in the crate together last night because they're small, and I thought that would be more comforting for them. And, I'll probably do that tonight and maybe tomorrow night, and then I will separate them. So I have the 2 crates in there, one on top of the other. So probably in a couple of days, I'll separate them, but they'll still be next to my bed. Mm-hmm. So it was really very easy. The hardest part is that there's 2 of them, and they're both 12 pounds. So that's 24 pounds of me getting out my bedroom door without the other 6 dogs that are with me. And they're like, what the hell's going on? It's 4:15. This is talk about not a pattern. They're like, what the hell are you doing? Mm-hmm. So I had to tell them, no, don't turn on, go turn off. I'm coming back upstairs. And then walking down the stairs, bleary-eyed with 2 puppies in each arm. I don't love doing that in case I trip or something. So that's been a little challenging. That will continue to be challenging until Turtle goes home. But overall, they did great last night. I was very proud of them. And I said to you this morning, it's just a wonderful breed.
It really is. It really is. And I mean, that's why we started this. I mean, you got Ruby after me and Jacob were old enough to be able to like handle a more intense dog. And then I just remember we got her at like 6 months?
No, she was about 4 months.
4 months? Mm. And I just remember like you just being like, oh, it's just such a great, we need to breed this breed, blah, 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 talking to Dad about it. And then we started doing like agility classes with her, and Ruby was super easy to housebreak, super biddable. And then you taught her how to like stay on the bed at night.
Yeah, she was just so easily trained. She was not a chewer. Mm-mm. She housebroke in a flash. I was like, oh, I'm in love with this breed.
Yeah. Because
we had 2 dachshunds and a cavalier previous
for so many
to
years.
That.
Yep.
Which were great dogs in their own way, but not the same. Mm-mm. So yeah, I just think that although I'm proud of our bloodlines as well, mm-hmm. Also I just think that most of it is just a great breed, an easy really puppy compared to lots of other breeds. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Turtle and Marley are doing great. So we'll continue to work with them, and I'll try to document it. I'm trying to document it as much on social media as I can. So we should probably move on to the topic. I think today we're going to talk about nuance and social media. Those are 2 opposite diverging theories or whatever.
Well, do you want me to talk about how we started this topic on the walk today?
Yeah. So, no names. I don't like calling out people.
No, and I don't really know who his name is anyways.
And actually, for the most part, I do really like 90% of what he says.
Yeah. But there's this trainer that I follow on Instagram, and I was just scrolling through Instagram as we were driving to the park, and I stumbled upon one of his videos where he talks about this German Shepherd who's extremely leash reactive, extremely car reactive, to the point where if you correct him in that zone, he will redirect on you and harm you.
I think it's a she.
It's a she. And so I really like his stuff because I always learn something new. He also has like YouTube videos and stuff where you can he breaks down what he's doing, and he specifically works with herding breeds, so mainly cattle dogs and German Shepherds. And usually from the outside it looks like they're aggressive, but in reality it's kind of rooted in anxiety and lack of direction. And then once you give them direction and show them what they don't have to be anxious about, it will subside, and then they turn into like a dog and they don't like go crazy about with random stuff. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about this one female German Shepherd and how he wants all the other trainers to know that you can create a dog that's completely neutral even when they're extremely reactive like this. And most trainers don't want to train your dogs to be completely neutral so then they can get all this money from you and you keep coming back and you have to do all these routines to get your dog to not be leash reactive. And I was talking to you and was like, I would love to see how that works, because so far the only way I have learned how to stop leash reactivity is by managing the behavior, right? And through management, you start to create a habit, and then the habit sticks to itself, and then pretty much the behavior has dissipated.
But there's still a management piece to that. So we work on the emotional response, right? Change the emotional response in the brain, usually through food, right? But there's still always a management piece in there because you can't control the world, right? You can't control the million different possibilities when you're out in the world. Things you just can't prepare for that. So I was listening to the video as we were driving. I liked a lot of what he said. First of all, he doesn't believe in medication for this kind of stuff for anxious dogs. And we agree with that.
Yes.
I don't find that medication is helpful or useful or even works with dogs. I do kind of think that the vet industry, not individual vets maybe, but the industry as a whole has, really believes that this is a huge revenue stream, right? Medicating people's dogs, because there's so many dogs with anxiety issues and reactivity issues. And like we've discussed, why is this getting worse and worse over the last 20 years? There are reasons for that, right? Because we allow it, we're able to live with it. And therefore these dogs are being reproduced and finding homes rather than being euthanized and turned back into shelters, right? But I think the sort of the veterinary lobby, so to speak, the overarching veterinary lobby, let's say, sees this as a money-making opportunity, right? Medicating dogs.
I've never seen it actually. Like, I don't think it works. I think
it doesn't work. There's been papers that show that it doesn't work.
Just
the dog brain is not the same as the human brain.
Nope.
And when you medicate them, you don't give them the opportunity to learn their brain to learn how to regulate in these circumstances. And in my opinion, and I think you probably agree with me, you're better off keeping them away from circumstances that make them so crazy that you can't control it. Like if it's the extreme of the extreme, let's just not put them in those situations. Yeah. And then let's work on all of the other situations so they can have a normal life by weeding out the extremes, right? So for instance, I wouldn't take a highly reactive dog who we've worked with, we've helped with the emotional response, we have a great management plan in place. I wouldn't take a dog like that on a narrow trail in the woods where I know we're going to be encountering other dogs, because it's just not fair.
Yeah, totally not fair.
But we could take them on a road, a 2-lane road, or on a sidewalk in a neighborhood where you can move to the other side of the street if you need. This trainer claims that he can create a dog who's highly reactive and make them totally neutral, regardless of what's being thrown at them.
Regardless of the tool that they're using. So he was talking about having them on flexi leashes and having them on long lines and off
not having to do a management plan.
Yeah, and not having to do a management plan and getting them to be 100% neutral around their triggers. And it's almost too good to be true. Like, I would love to see it if he actually has a plan on how to do it. I would love to see it, but so far I've never seen anything in his videos that shows that it's even possible. He also doesn't break down the videos and exactly say like what's going on. Like, he definitely does talk about certain things, but like the fine tune of where, it's like a big jump from like the first video to like the second video.
Right.
And so I wonder what's going on in the middle.
Right.
And this is where social media
and what happened 5 minutes before that video and 5 minutes after. Like, and that's when we're talking about nuance in social media and how they don't really go together, right? Because you can take a snippet of a video and put it on social media and say, look what an amazing trainer I am, or look what an amazing fill in the blank, parent, whatever, friend, humanitarian, right? You can curate that stuff. So, I have never seen that happen because I think there's so much nuance to it, and there's so much to the, when a dog is reactive, they're creating neural pathways in the brain. We've talked about this, and those pathways don't ever disappear, right? They're always there.
Well, like example, we talked about Deacon this morning, and Deacon is pretty much not leash reactive at all, even if another dog is like really going ham on the other end of the leash. As long as we have food, for the most part, he can,
or space,
he really stays completely under threshold. But he's still leash reactive. Like he's still,
right,
has that
taking off those guardrails.
Yeah, like
he would love to react because it feels good.
Yeah, especially if we're working with like herding breeds in general as a whole.
So let me interrupt you for a second. Mm-hmm. Let's compare this to a person, right? So say you have a trigger around fill in the blank.
Spiders.
Okay. And not even like a phobia. Let's talk about like something behavioral, right?
Okay.
So you've had a trauma in your childhood, and trauma, I don't mean like a serious trauma, like say you were alienated and you didn't have any friends, right? And then when making new friends can make you triggered, right? Mm-hmm. Even though you can overcome those triggers and talk to yourself, you've been to therapy, whatever, and you've worked on techniques to talk yourself through this. Like, I can talk to this person in the coffee shop. Mm-hmm. Nothing bad is going to happen. Even if they don't want to talk to me, I won't die, right? So what is the difference between what we're doing with the dogs and that? It's not that the trigger isn't just under the surface, because again, it's a behavior, a neural pathway that's been carved in your brain. You can overcome it by redirection, but it's still there. So I question a trainer who claims that they can take a dog who's had a behavior, this particular dog, for 3 years, and completely eliminate the behavior. And not have to, he said something like, oh, other trainers make you do all of these protocols with redirection and treats and da-da-da. Not even that. They won't care when they see another dog. And I question whether that's true.
Well, and the thing that is so curious about the videos is like, you see it on the, like, he has one snippet where the dog's like flipping out and redirecting on him and doing all these things. And then he's like, you see him bonding with the dog. And creating this relationship. And then the next video, it's like him walking this dog past all these other dogs, and the dog's completely fine, and he's not treat feeding them. He's not using an e-collar on them. He's not doing anything. It's like
they're not showing any signs of suppression.
Yeah, it's not showing any signs of suppression or anything like that, or whale eyes or lip licking. It's like, and then I'm like, how is it?
Does he show every single dog he works with?
And exactly. So like he does use e-collars with certain cases, and he does use redirection with other cases, but like there's just certain stuff like he doesn't always show. Like there was this one dog he was working with, and like the first video was, the dog was human aggressive, and like he had a whole suit on, and the dog's like biting him, and he's trying to just play with the dog and just interact with the dog, and being like, just because you're biting me, it doesn't mean I'm not going to care, we're trying to build a relationship. And he's like, I'm not going to correct this behavior because this is a built-in behavior that he's been doing it for years, which yes, he has been. And then the next video is he has no bite equipment on, and he's just playing fetch with him. And I'm just like, how did you get from that to this?
That I find more believable than reactivity. I find that more because you could ostensibly have a dog who has had an experience with people, right? Was fearful of people, and he convinced them there's nothing to be afraid of with me. Two things. Is that true with every person that meets this dog? Unless it's true with every person, it's not true. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then what he does is then he starts having like people that he knows either put the bite suit on, and they're like trainers, other trainers that he knows, or other people that he knows, or whatever. And then he has them put the suit on and then like walk the dog and interact with the dog and play with the dog the same way he did. And then eventually they meet the same people multiple times.
That is case by case. Okay. So you're allowing the dog to get to know people and trust them. And then the dog doesn't feel the need to do that behavior because they don't feel fearful anymore.
Yeah.
That's different than reactivity.
Yeah.
Because reactivity is, it may start as fear-based,
But then it's enjoyable.
but then it becomes something else. Now, it may also carry along with it the fear, but many times the fear isn't even the cause of it anymore. It's the breed tendency to be fractious, reactive to things, right? Particularly hurting dogs. And the cycle itself of reactivity is self-rewarding. So that is different than a dog who's fearful of people. So, and he sounds like he is actually a good trainer, and I'm sure I could learn something from him, and he could probably learn something from me. I don't know. It's not that I'm saying I'm a better trainer necessarily than him, but I don't like it when trainers make sweeping generalizations that they can fix every dog or even the majority of dogs in cases like this.
And we've talked about him before because I love the work he does.
Is this the guy that had the
Cattle dog?
the cattle? This is the same guy.
He specifically only works with German Shepherds and cattle dogs, or at least that's the only ones that I see him post online. And to me, that's curious because I'm like, if you're only working with this very particular breed, but then claiming that you can do this with any breed.
Ding, ding, ding.
You know, like the reason that I really like watching his videos is because this is my type of breed. This is my type of dog I like to work with. And the reason he's able to take a dog that's aggressive, and the reason I use quotations is because cattle dogs are really, really easy to fuck up. German Shepherds are easier to fuck up, not as easy to fuck up as cattle dogs. So when you take a cattle dog and they're quote unquote aggressive, it's because you didn't give them enough stability and training and obedience and more structure. And
Very hard dog, a very hard breed to raise.
Super hard breed to raise. I mean, so hard I wouldn't want to raise one myself, and that's coming from me. And
Again, you have to go into it with a certain mindset.
Yeah, you like that snapback. You like the sass.
You like the sass.
Yeah,
right.
and you can't
probably like terriers.
Yeah, and like if you don't have that kind of I like that growling, that edge to them, then this is not the type of dog for you. And I don't like that. And I love working with herding dogs. But anyways, moral of the story is they will show signs of being aggressive, but in reality, they are meant to bully giant bulls. So really what the aggression is that they're showing is their natural ability to bully large animals. And you're not a large animal. So it comes across as aggression. And those are very easy cases that you can fix and turn the aggression completely 180 because...
But he's still managing Sophie.
Yeah, it's still management
because every time that dog meets somebody new, they've got to go through a whole protocol, right?
Yeah.
So his claim that he can fix these problems, like he was talking specifically about this German Shepherd, I can fix this reactivity so she won't care about other dogs and I don't have to do any management to get there. Once we're there permanently and she will never react again and I don't have to maintain it with management is false because that's not, first of all, it just is not common sense to me. So if you're asking anyone, any person or dog, any intelligent creature to not do something that is self-rewarding, and reactivity is, we just discussed that. If you're asking them not to do that, they have to be reinforced to not do it, right? Now, you can reinforce it through punishment and suppress them, which we've talked about. We don't like, we don't do. That doesn't really work. It makes a dangerous dog, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what we do is reinforce the choice to not participate in that loop. And if you don't, you're going to get a reward to do what we find compatible. Again, compatible, incompatible, right? So we still reinforce our dogs. We still manage them. All of our dogs.
even the ones that aren't reactive, it's like, for me, it's just like such a simple pleasure to
like
give them.
I give Vivi the treats, even when we walk by a dog, or particularly a reactive dog, and she does not care. She truly doesn't care, and neither does Ty. They're not reactive. It takes a really bad situation for. Sorry, I'm taking my jacket off. Give me a second. I'm having a hot flash. Hold on. So they don't naturally react. They can, in extreme rare circumstances, but it's very rare. Even then, if they're really calm when a reactive dog walks by us and is acting like a jerk, I still reward that because I want to reinforce that was, maybe a little bit challenging and you chose not to participate in that. And then, of course, when you talk about a dog like Deacon, where we've worked specifically on not reacting, yes, I still reinforce it. I still manage it. And I see nothing wrong with that. I don't think that's a hole in our training. I think that's taking into account breed characteristics, personality, individual personality, and common sense of reinforcement. No?
No, I 100% agree. And that's why we started this conversation, because I was like telling you all these things. And I was like, I would love to like have a dog that would just naturally not do any of these things, but that's not realistic, especially if we're talking about breed standards, and we're only talking about herding breeds. Now, like, I would love to see him deal with an aggressive boxer and be able to do all the things that he's doing with these dogs. It's interesting that
unless you're showing me every single dog you work with, I am not. And it's not to say I don't think many of these trainers are not really good at what they do. I do. But I tend to find an affinity with the trainers who talk a lot about nuance and are realistic and embracing of breed tendency, personality tendency.
Well, and I think the one trainer that I don't think I've ever disagreed with her stuff at all.
Is Denise Venzi.
Well, yeah, but
Denise Venzi.
I know you
my idol.
I know you love Denise Venzi, but the other girl, and she like sits down with her German Shepherd and talks about all these different things. We're not mentioning names, so
I can't remember.
But you know who I'm talking about.
Method Canine.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I
do like her.
She's never disagreed with anything she said, and she works with a variety.
She works with
breeds,
a lot of aggressive dogs. She does,
and she specifically talks about breed tendency. Like, she was working, I think, with like an aggressive Great Pyrenees, and then talked about how Great Pyrenees, this is a natural behavior, and therefore, like, just because we don't have the thing that they're resource guarding in here doesn't mean that they won't start resource guarding random things like the water bowl and this and that, because they are feeling out of control, so they'll start resource guarding everything. And she specifically works with all different types of very aggressive breeds and really talks about a huge management plan, and then coaches the owners.
Right. Because what you can expect.
Yeah.
What is realistic. I try to talk to all of our potential training clients. I want to make sure that we have realistic goals here. And I will not continue. I won't sign somebody up for training if I think that our goals are divergent in that way.
Yeah.
They have to believe me. They have to buy in to my belief, our belief in that there are things that we're going to have to manage with every dog for the life of the dog. Now, some of those management things are like automatic and you don't think about them. Other management things are quite active and you have to prepare for and be prepared every single time, right? Depending on the breed and the behavior. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I understand. I think what he was saying when he was talking about, and you don't have to do all these crazy management things. I want to think that he's talking about like crazy sort of protocols to just like, be out in the public.
Pull your dog on the side, put them in a sit, put their back towards the dog, and then feed them treats upset. Like, maybe that what he's talking, but that's also something I disagree with. So like,
But maybe that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, but maybe, I don't know.
I just think that if I know that if I was walking Deacon and I did not continue the reinforcement, it doesn't have to be every
dog.
It doesn't have to be every incident. In fact, an intermittent reinforcement schedule is actually more effective than a consistent one once they learn the behavior. You're distracting me.
Sorry.
So it's not every time. It's a variable reinforcement schedule with him. The reactivity would reemerge. It would.
Yep. And like
And we've seen it because our clients come back and go, oh, the reactivity is back. And then we go and work with them and they're like, oh, yeah, I see what I was doing.
Yeah,
I'm
or
like,
like-
did you miss that? You missed that cue there. We got to remember we're asking this dog to not do something that feels good to them. So it has to be worth their while to not do it.
Yeah. And that's usually what happens. And, I think it's an easy mistake, especially when your dog's not reacting, to be like, oh, well, I don't need to bring these treats anymore. Wouldn't it be so nice to just walk my dog?
Yes, it's a big mistake. It's done. It's permanent. It's fixed.
Yeah. And that's
Not
the
for an
case.
intelligent creature.
No. And, they will naturally go back into those habits because those habits feel good.
They feel good.
They're natural.
And
they
it's
feel
hard
good.
for people to believe that feels good because it seems like such a negative thing from the outside. However, there are certain things that we can fix and fix permanently if it's based on something that can be changed permanently. So,
well, like you were talking about aggression towards people and in the bite suit and stuff and making a relationship.
right. So I'm not talking about cattle dogs because that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But say you got a dog out of a shelter who was terrified of people, right? And you worked with them and they got more comfortable with people. And okay, well, let's talk about specifics. The German Shepherd we have right now,
Yeah.
he's fine with other dogs, fine. And they did not socialize him with other dogs because they were terrified that he was dog aggressive for 6 years. And in the span of a few days, he was like, oh, dogs aren't bad.
Yep.
And I would tell you that dog can socialize with any trustworthy dog. Not any dog, because not all dogs are trustworthy.
Nope.
But any trustworthy dog he could socialize with. So in that respect, we have changed his perception of other dogs, permanently changed his perception. Now, if he has a really negative experience with another dog, we might see the rise of that again because he's not stupid, right? That is a change of perception. That is something that we don't have to do any kind of management plan or reinforcement because the process itself feels so good and so reinforcing.
But even with that, it improves his leash reactivity, but it does not diminish it because
it diminishes it, but does not fix it.
Yeah, the leash reactivity, especially for a German Shepherd, freaking feels good. It freaking feels good. And we're encountering another dog and I'm on a small leash and I'm with my owner and I'm with all these other dogs and we're coming in two different directions and that's a threat to me. So therefore I feel like I need to tell this dog to back off because I'm on this short leash and if he comes at me, I'm not going to be able to defend myself. Those are very natural German Shepherd, well, any dog behavior, So even though he's good with other dogs, it doesn't mean that that's going to 100% diminish his reactivity.
Right, because his reactivity was based on two criteria. One, the absolute fear of harm, right? Fear of harm.
Yep.
Survival instinct, right? If you want to boil it down, resource guarding. Guarding my own life, right? And number two, the breed tendency of once I start this loop, it is self-rewarding, right?
And so then I was talking to Dozer's parents, and they were saying that
Dozer's a Rottweiler.
Dozer's a Rottweiler, and he was starting to get reactive around other dogs that were reacting at him. And I was like, well, let's go on a walk and let's go find a better management plan. Not surprised this is happening because he's a Rottweiler. Not surprised this is happening. They live in a very small neighborhood. The sidewalks are small. There's not a lot of space that you can give each other.
So they really only walk him, I think, on sidewalks in this little town.
Yeah.
So he's not like doing the walks that we do, which is at a park with like a very wide space.
So like, they were like, oh, can you walk him and see if maybe you see the behavior and whatever? And I was like, sure, we can totally do that. But I have a different relationship with him than you guys do. And we walk in a different park and he knows he's not supposed to react in this park. So I guarantee I'm not going to see any reactivity from him because I have a different relationship with him. I'm his trainer. It's very different.
And the environment is different.
The environment's different. Our relationship's different. And that's exactly what happened. We didn't see any of that stuff. So we're going to go to their house and we're going to kind of come up with a management plan. This is normal. Dogs evolve. Dogs change.
Right. So how can a trainer say this dog will be, and he did, I listened to him, this dog will be neutral when he sees other dogs forever. He won't care or she won't care. How can you say that? She's a living, breathing, evolving, intelligent creature. And the world is, the butterfly effect. It's got a million possibilities.
Especially with like a German Shepherd that
So I
natural
think-
has chaining behavior. It's like,
Although I like much of his philosophy, when trainers make these blanket statements, what it does is it damages dog trainers, right? It damages what dog trainers can offer, right? It's damaging to that. And it also, I think, makes the average owner feel like shit because they're like, well, I can never get there. Or, oh, look at all this work I did. But since my dog is never going to be neutral, I must be a failure. Right?
Yep.
So I think those blanket statements can be really damaging.
yep. And, for the most part, we always have to keep in mind that essentially they're not going to be staying with us. They're going to go back to their owner who's not a dog trainer and doesn't want to be a dog trainer.
Right. If they wanted to
wanna
be, they would.
Yeah, they don't want to be a dog trainer. So they want a dog that will be neutral or manageable when they go on their walks every day at the park that they like to go at. That's all they want. That's all they want. They don't want to be a dog trainer. So to be able to give this false illusion of your dog's going to be completely normal and exactly what you want.
Does it make sense for a dog to not be reactive to another dog who's being aggressive towards them? No. Maybe a dumb dog. Mm-hmm. Maybe a clueless, dopey dog who doesn't have any social skills. But it doesn't even make sense. So even Vivi and Ty, who are not reactive at all, naturally not reactive. If we were in a tight street and another dog was coming at us being really provocative, barking and snarling and lunging at the end of the leash, what kind of a dog is going to be like, he's not a threat, la 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 la. Mm-hmm. It doesn't even make sense. It frustrates me when trainers talk that way. And there are many trainers on social media that I really worship, that I really respect. But they all have a through line, which is they talk realistically about genetics, about breed characteristics, about environmental triggers, about management, and that it's not the old way of thinking, which is we can fix every problem, because we cannot. They're living, breathing creatures. They're not robots. Mm-hmm. You can't just change the code.
Mm-mm. And if all of a sudden you can, I worry about the tactics that you are doing with your dog.
Right. Well, what are we really looking at? Are we looking at suppression? Mm-hmm. No,
we've
talked about
I see
that
those
before.
videos all the time they put those e-collars on that dog and they're walking them through Home Depot with all these kids and people and whatever. And that dog is giving you, you can look at the dog's face and they're whale eyeing and suppressing all that anxiety down, and they're having a miserable time. And I'm just like, that dog's going to explode. One of those days that dog's going to explode and rip.
Well, those are
arm
truly
off.
bad trainers. I'm not saying that this guy is that.
No, I actually think this guy's a great trainer, and I've learned a lot from him. But no one's perfect, just like dogs aren't perfect.
No, I mean, you couldn't, a person couldn't be something that they're not. I mean, they could pretend, right? But eventually it comes out.
Guess what? Then they're suppressing it, and they're trying to be something that they're not.
And then it comes out they murder somebody.
Well, I mean, or they kill themselves. I'm sorry.
Yeah, true.
But let's talk about gayness. You can suppress yourself being gay, but most of the time when you suppress yourself being gay or trans or whatever.
All right, so we're gonna compare this trainer with conversion therapy.
I'm just saying.
No, I don't think it's a bad comparison.
I'm just saying,
because you're asking someone. You're essentially saying, I can make this gay person straight, and they won't even care when they see another person of their same sex that they find attractive. They won't even care anymore. That's basically what conversion therapy is.
And that's not true.
So but essentially, if you boil it down, that's kind of what he's saying.
Yeah.
Right? That's not taken into account that intelligent creatures are pre-wired at birth. Mm-hmm. And that there's nothing wrong with a good management plan. Mm-hmm. I think silly management plans, over the top ridiculous management plans, maybe are ridiculous and don't have enough work on the foundational obedience and things like that, for sure. And we've seen people come in with crazy management and you're like, how have you been living with this dog for the last year? You've been doing what?
Well, I do this and then I do that and then I do this. And you're like, oh my God.
That's a lot of management.
Well, guess what? You can erase all of that. We're just going to ask you to do this, this, and that. And they're like, what? And I'm like,
Instead of doing the 15 steps, we're going to ask you to do 3 steps.
Yeah.
And then we're going to work on everything else in between.
Yep.
So anyway, it bothers me. It's, I guess, triggering for me because it makes me think, well, maybe I am not doing a good job. Maybe I need to learn something. Maybe I don't train dogs well. Of course, it's triggering to me. But when I break it down, I'm like, well, it's triggering to me because it's not possible when you take into account all of the facts in the case.
Yeah. And I really try to be like biddable and learn new things and learn new techniques. And I think that's how this conversation started with us in the car, of just like, I would love to be able to get away to have a dog be neutral.
Yeah,
like
that would be great. Imagine how much money we would make.
I know. Like, could you imagine? I was like, I would love it. But so far, I've never seen it in any of his videos. And I just don't believe it's true because we've worked with a lot of reactivity. Like, that's like our main bag, is to work with dogs with reactivity. And I have never seen, like, it always ends up being a management plan. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I've never seen it. I've never, I would love to see it to believe it. I would love to learn a technique that isn't suppression or cruel in some sort of way, to be able to get your dog to be 100% neutral. But I just don't think it's true because they're living, breathing animals and they all have emotions and feelings and have valid reasons to feel the way they feel.
And they're continuing to evolve. It's not, there's no sort of endpoint with dog training, right? Oh, my dog's trained and I don't have to do anything. We're done. No. Nothing is more obvious than when you have 9 dogs living in your house. Well, I mean, talk about a living and breathing.
It's like saying, like, oh, once my kid turns 18, I don't have to be a parent anymore. You will be the parent for the rest of your life. Exactly. Like, that will never stop. You will never stop being a parent.
It's a good analogy because the density, the concentration of the amount of parenting you need to do is going to diminish greatly as your kid grows, right, and goes out into the world. But you're still going to do a little bit of parenting as you go. So it doesn't just shut off. No.
And I mean, I always look at like you and Poppy's relationship is like, he's still your dad. Like, you still ask him for like certain advice and things
absolutely.
Because he's your dad. Like,
right.
And he's experienced. And I mean, we can talk about like your whole, well, it is a true theory about menopause and how like we need like the older generation to be able to help us. Like, that's the whole point of being humans. You can't take that away.
Right. All that body of experience is really for a learning species like humans.
Yeah.
You don't want to evolutionarily, I mean, that's a huge investment. You want to keep that human around after menopause, even though they cannot continue to reproduce. Their wealth of knowledge is helps to perpetuate the species,
human race,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So that is, there's only 3 species in the world that the females, once they become unable to reproduce, continue to live. Mm-hmm. And that's humans, whales, and elephants. Whales and elephants, matriarchal societies run by the females. Mm-hmm. So not so much true of humans, although it should be matriarchal. Most cultures in human culture are patriarchal. Some are matriarchal. The vast majority are patriarchal, and maybe it shouldn't be. But yeah, so that's a very good analogy. The parenting never completely stops, Mm-hmm. And it's the same with dog training.
Yep, you'll never stop dog training. I mean, I always think about Twiggy, and I'm like, oh, like, her leash reactivity has extremely diminished, but she was always leash reactive, even as a little tiny puppy.
And that with age will mellow.
Yeah.
If you continue to reinforce it
Yep.
and to create structure and management around it, as she ages, that neural pathway will atrophy more and more and more,
Yep.
right?
Yep. And like, she's gotten so much better, but like you've walked her and she still gets a little...
She gets huffy.
But like, I get it.
And I don't always... I think you reinforce her much more than I do. Yeah. I let her get huffy because I really feel like they need to learn to control themselves without me going, come on my left, So you have more anxiety around Twiggy because she's your dog.
Yeah.
So there's all this emotional baggage that goes there. I am less emotionally invested in her having a bad reaction if I let it go too far.
Yep.
And for the most part, I'll give her a gentle tug and just remind her, stay under control, and she'll just sort of huff her way through it. That being said, I wouldn't walk 5 feet away from a dog she doesn't know.
Yep.
That wouldn't be fair.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't think that's a dog that's lacking training. I think that's respecting who she is and working around stuff that makes her triggery.
I mean, and that girl's immensely trained. So, it's like,
I mean, you could talk about when Summer put her collar on, right?
yeah.
So we had Summer was walking Twiggy.
She was walking Twiggy, yeah.
And we were off leash and we stopped because we were about to go on the road. So we were putting the leashes on the dogs. And she went to put the leash on Twiggy, and her the ring was actually behind on the top of her neck rather than down by her throat. And so Summer reached over her head to clip it, and Twiggy sort of dodged, weaved, and sort of trotted away from her like, no, you're not doing that to me. Mm-hmm. You immediately got like, go over because it's your
my
dog.
Emotional experience.
Yeah, it's
like,
your
she's
dog,
not
and
doing
you
anything wrong.
You want her to behave, right?
Yeah.
She's just putting. Yeah. I look at that like, okay, well, that freaked her out. She doesn't know Summer that well, and Summer reached over her head, and that made her uncomfortable. So, instead of making her do it, making it a negative experience and punishing, and that's rude, and you need to submit, right? In my opinion, it's, can we get this done? Can we get Summer to put the leash on her and still respect Twiggy's being uncomfortable with reaching over her head? So, and we can do that. Mm-hmm. That is something we can negotiate very easily and still get what we want. Mm-hmm. The non-negotiable is putting the leash on, right?
It has to go on.
Yeah, I'm not negotiating that.
No.
But the negotiable part is how I put the leash on you. So what I did was I worked with Summer on calling her over and then reaching underneath her chin and then moving up the side of her head, the side of her neck, and clipping on the leash rather than reaching over her head and clipping the leash on. And when she did that, it took 2 or 3 attempts because Twiggy then was being a bit of a nudge about it. But once she realized Summer wasn't going to reach over her head and that she realized that she was going to have the leash put on, she knew that that was a non-negotiable. She was like, okay, cool. And Summer was able to put it on. So those are the kind of lessons I love because I think Summer really understood what I was saying. She was like, I get it. I see what I did wrong inadvertently. And I see how to get the leash on by still respecting Twiggy's feelings around not having someone she doesn't know that well reach over her head.
I mean, that's, I think, why we work really well because, like, for me, it was completely emotional, and that's why I took a step back and I was like, I'll let you cook because I'm already boiled over. And then, like, there are other cases where we were working with one of our previous puppies, and she was like all over the place on the leash or something like that. And you were asking like too many things of her, and I could just see her.
Hey, it was a young puppy. I was doing leash walking when she was frustrating the hell out of me.
Yeah, and then I was like, "Look, can I just try something? Like, I just have this idea." And then I started making it really bubbly and really fun, and like
which is not my bag.
Yeah, so she doesn't like do. Well, ironically, I do not like working with puppies. Like, they're just a lot of responsibility. But I work really well with puppies. So like I took her and I started making everything really fun and bubbly, and then like changing directions, and then
clicked for the dog immediately.
So
she was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. So like it's funny how that's why we work really well together because
I think we have a strange business model as trainers. It didn't really occur to me that we're a little bit weird.
Yeah,
because we both show up to lessons. And people are like, why are there 2 trainers here? I mean, I don't know anybody else who 2 trainers go to the lessons with people.
Well, and like it's almost like when you're very good at talking and kind of explaining things, and I'm not really good at talking about the things.
You're perfectly good at it. I'm better at it.
Way better at it. And so when we go to a lesson, I can really
you are better at the physical part of it. I can do it, but I don't prefer to do it.
No,
you do it better than me.
I do the physical part and like show them how to hold.
And there's usually more than one person, usually more than one human client, So, and we have two of us. So while you're working with one spouse, say, and the dog, I'm walking with the other spouse, sort of narrating what's going on and then talking to them specifically about what their concerns are and what they need to work on. So I think our business model works really well in that way.
And then sometimes like you'll talk about things and I'm like, oh, you forgot this. And then I'll like,
Yeah, no, I think it's great.
and then vice versa if I'm not like,
But it didn't occur to me that we have sort of a strange business model until a couple of clients were confused. Wait, what? Who's coming to the left? Who else? Who are you talking about?
because like you only talk to them on the phone and then I usually work with them here for the most part.
So anyway, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So I think we should probably wind it up. Oh my gosh, we should wind it up. But yeah, so I guess the moral of the story is beware of Instagram videos. When somebody shows you a video of a behavior, wonder about what was going on 5 minutes leading up to that video and what went on 5 minutes after the camera went off. Not to say that every video is sus.
No.
That's not true.
No.
If it's not sus, I mean, if it's a true representation, then you can imagine what went up leading up to that and what went on after the camera went off, and it all sort of seamlessly flows, right? I just think that, social media is great in forwarding dog training so well, it really does sort of inform people.
But it also can be really confusing.
And really deceiving.
Yeah. And you can,
If it feels not right, it's probably not. If something bothers you, like this person, I think I just shut off.
No, you're still on.
Oh, it must be the phone downstairs. Okay, sorry. If it doesn't feel 100% right, then it probably isn't. And that was my gut reaction to that video, to that man. That doesn't seem right to me. And then we talk and talk and talk until I can sort of articulate what about it bothers me. Right.
And if I don't know, I think it's hard to like, if you don't have someone to brainstorm off of. Like, I definitely learn the most when I go to you and like, I'm like, oh, this video is great, blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, is it though? And then you like point out things and I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. Or like, it seemed too good to be true. So.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
for sure.
It's tricky. And then to be doing this like independently by yourself with this dog that you're like struggling with, it's like I have a lot of sympathy because you're doing the best you can. I know most people are doing the best that they possibly can right now.
Absolutely. And there's so much information out there. It's hard to find the stuff that's valuable.
Yeah, no,
right?
It really is.
So, I mean, I think probably this particular person and us have 90% in common of our philosophy in dog training. It's just a little bit of maybe being a little bit more realistic about breed characteristics and truly buying into the fact that a lot of it is genetics and unchangeable.
Yep.
And a management around that, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
All right, let's wind it up. We have one more episode for this season, episode 12. And then we'll wind up season 3 and let Jacob, he's got finals and stuff coming up in late April, early May. So it's actually good timing for him. He'll be able to study and get all that stuff done. And then maybe we'll start again in the summer or probably late summer. We'll come back. We'll try to have more guests. I don't know. We always say that.
I know. It just doesn't always pan out. So.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And it's hard to get our schedule together. Sometimes it's just easy to come up here and yak.
Rant about random stuff.
Yak.
If anything, we should just record ourselves walking.
Well, we didn't know what we were going to talk about today.
I know.
And then we got on this rant during the walk, and I'm like, let's just repeat this conversation that we had today because I thought it was valuable. All right, let's wind it up. We'll see you guys next time on Dog for Thought. Bye. Dog for Thought is written and hosted by me, Sarah Brown, co-hosted by Sophie Brown, produced, edited, and original music by Jacob Brown. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.